three-part video of an inspection of the boat. And where I want to start out at is up here on the covering board up on the gunnels. And what I'm going to do is, I've already taken off a little bit of paint, but I'm going to take off some more so I can correctly identify what type of wood this is. I have a suspicion about what kind it is, but I just want to take off a little bit more of paint so that I can correctly identify it, so I can put that in my notes, so that when I go to rebuild this and shorten this and completely replace the gunnel tops, that I'll be doing it the right way with the kind that the Betselma was built with. Even though it's going to be the Orca, you want to typically keep the same kind of wood. Of course, you could do this with some sort of spruce. I don't believe this is spruce. I believe it's actually oak. But you could do it with, some sort of spruce, or you could mix wood. But I don't like to mix wood. That's just tacky to me. I don't want to do that unless I have to. But let's just get into this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my little handy dandy knife here. I'm just on, like a razor blade, I'm just gonna take up some of the paint, and you can kind of see I got some right there. I'm just gonna work at it a little bit at a time, so it'll come up. I don't know if you can see it. I'll probably put in a picture up here to the side. And you know what? Let me go ahead and do that. Take it with my phone. I can just upload it to the video. Have it down there in the corner. Let me just go ahead and do that. And again, I'm going to be fighting off rain today because there's some right over there. But I got about an hour and a half before it gets here, and I'm sure I'll get that done before then. And there's a woodpecker. What I'm talking about, what I just took a picture of, you can see the top paint right here is some sort of brownish, kind of like a mocha, real, like really light mocha color. I guess you could consider it some sort of tan, with a hint of brown in it. But down here, like here, and here, you can see where it has this blue-gray paint, like the decking does. I don't know if y'all can see. Well, you can see the top of the covering box for the engine right there. It's the same color as that. But let me just get some more paint off of here, and then we'll start our thing a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and take up this bung right here in the wood. And what a bung is where you cover a nail head or a screw head with a piece of wood so water don't get in there. But we're just going to take this up a little bit more. Okay. That's good enough for what I'm going to be doing. I've cleared out a good 3 inch, well, a little over 3 inch section. It's probably about, altogether about 4 inches. Well, maybe about 5 inches. But the gunnel, which starts here and ends here, is about right at 15 inches. So it's pretty wide. It's wider than what it needs to be. But let's get down to this wood grain. So immediately, what you see the wood grain start to pop up at you. And this is a quarterly sawn board, meaning that all the grain is running this way. And we'll get into different kinds of cuts of grain, either in this video or part 2, maybe part 3. Might end up being a part 4, I doubt it though. But all the annual rings are running this way. So it's a quarterly sawn board. And due to the width and the spacing and the big rings and the little rings here, and the color tells me that it's white oak, and that's what I thought it was. And it's not a red oak. It's definitely white. And you typically, on a boat, you typically want to use white oak instead of red oak, and I'll get to that. I'm actually going to do a demonstration about that. And it basically has to do with the properties of the wood and how red oak soaks up liquids faster than what white oak does. I'm gonna do a demonstration of that in the future. And but this is a white oak, and I suspect that this whole thing is a white oak. There may be some other wood that's in here somewhere, but I'm willing to bet that the rest of this is going to be white oak. And right here in between the boards you can see where they had put some sort of filler in here and put thin pieces of wood on top of it. Let's go ahead and get rid of those. But this is white oak. Just trying to push the bung back down in there. But this is a white oak, and you can see running here, you can see all the individual little boards from where it's cracked and dried, and the whole gunnel tops don't have to be replaced. But with back in the day, what they would used to do, they would actually put a canvas over the top of this, is what they would actually do. And they'd have it to where the canvas would float, is what they'd call it, where it would float. That way, you know, if the decking ever changed, or, you know, when the boat would move, that it wouldn't be so tight that you would notice a big difference. So you might get a wrinkle or a crease in the canvas, so, and you could smooth it back out. But let's go up front and let's examine that. Alright, so we're up here on the foredeck, and I'm going to continue what I was talking about with the canvas. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this with the wind, but I'm going to continue what I was talking about with the canvas. Now, if this boat did have a canvas on it and it had been taken off so that it, you know, anything could be repaired, and if the decking was in good a condition, ideally what you'd be looking for, you don't want it to be bone dry. You want that moisture content to come back, and once the boat would be launched, it would come back, and all this, you can see where it was real tight at one time. Well, it'd get tight again, and with a canvas on there, it'd be really tight. It'd be really tight, and like I said, it would float, because you wouldn't want the canvas to be so packed down, so tight against the decking, so that when the boat moves, wood boats, the decking moves. It does this. It doesn't swivel, but it does move back and forth. The wood does, and that's why you put caulking between the boards, so that, which caulking is just spun cotton that's real thick, you put in between boards. And the reason for that is you put that caulking in there between the wood boards, so that they don't saw each other, so they don't sand each other down. But if I was going to put a canvas on this, which I'm not, what I would do, like I said, ideally you'd want it to be bone dry, and you'd be looking for the moisture content to come back after she was launched. But I wouldn't fill the gaps. I wouldn't fill the gaps between the boards, because they would just swell right back up.
Alright, so I'm having to do a voiceover here since the microphone on the camera decided to stop working. As you can see, I'm up here on the foredeck at the windshield to continue talking about the canvas, and the reason I'm talking about the canvas is to, number one, explain some cool boat building knowledge, and to answer someone's inevitable question as to whether or not I'd put a canvas on top of the gunnels in the trunk cabin top windshield. If I were to put a canvas on the trunk cabin roof, the best case scenario would be to do like what they used to do in canvassing boats. The canvas would be put down under the windshield frame. The canvas was put down first, then the windshield was put down over it. Now, that doesn't help with repairing it. The old-timer shipwrights knew that the canvas wouldn't last forever, but they did treat it as best they could. They tried to make it last forever. It didn't, but they certainly tried. So what they did when they built boats with canvases, they ran the canvas down, then put down the wood cleat that the windshield would have been up against down first over the canvas, then the windshield was fastened to that. Now, as the Betselma sits here in the video, it is possible that there are no fastenings coming up through the decking and into the windshield. And if that is the case and I were to put a canvas down, what I could do is take one of those vibrating multi-tools and lay it down on the decking, and then possibly cut just enough space up under the windshield to run the canvas in under it. That's the prettiest situation, to have the canvas end and the windshield pick up. Otherwise, you'd have to remove the windshield altogether and possibly risk damaging the rest of the cabin. I also wouldn't recommend putting a piece of trim along the bottom of the windshield on top of the canvassing, because then you have other problems, which is getting the piece to fit, trying to get that piece on, the maintenance of that piece, and the appearance of it, whether it's maintained properly and perfectly tight or otherwise.
Now, I'm just going to reiterate just a little bit more about why if I was to put a canvas on this, which I'm not, I'm just explaining this. The reason I wouldn't put any sort of putty or sealant between the boards on the gunnels on the decking, if I was going to put a canvas on it, the reason I wouldn't do that is because whatever you put in between the boards, whether it's some sort of oakum or a putty or a sealant, it's going to end up being pushed up at some point. It's going to end up, because the boards move with each other. They move against each other, and whatever's between them, it's going to pop up. It's going to start to come up, and see, this right here is, I don't know if the camera will pick it. Yeah, you can see it. This white stuff, this is some sort of putty, some sort of sealant that they put in between the boards. And see, you wouldn't want that if you had a canvas, because if you had a canvas, what would happen is that would eventually start to come up towards the top of the deck. The boards would start to push it up, and of course you wouldn't see none of this below the canvas, but I guarantee you would start to see it once it started to push up towards the top and it started to be seen on the canvas, and then it would rip your canvas. Then you definitely would notice it. So I'm just going to briefly go over what I want to do here in the cabin. Number one, what's going to have to be done is it's going to have to be torn down completely. There's going to be somebody that's going to ask, and I'm just going to go ahead and clarify. Why is it that you just don't use the existing cabin and just build from that? Well, number one, the thing about that is it's not wide enough. Her gunnels are almost 15 inches wide, and I have to widen the cabin to be accurate. That's number one. Number two is her cabin is in some... Number two, her cabin is actually in some really bad shape. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's still solid. I mean, don't get me wrong. But there's some of the wood has checking in it, and what checking is, that's on the inside of the board where it started to deteriorate away, where, you know, bugs and ants and all of them little things got in there and they've eaten away at it, so that does have to be replaced. And the cabin has to be moved back just a little bit. The windshield, let me explain this better. The windshield is going to have to be moved back, so the entire cabin is going to have to be moved back, if that makes sense. It's going to have to be moved back to about, well, use this. It's going to have to be moved back to about right here, between here and right here. So that's about a 5-inch difference. Not from there to there's 5 inches, but from this spot to this spot is 5 inches. But it'll be between there and there. Her cabin's don't have to be, the height is don't have to be raised, because number one, I'm a pretty tall guy. I'm 6'3", and I've got on the top of my head, if I'm standing straight up, that right there is about 2.5, 3 inches of head space. That ain't right. I'd rather not bang my head. I'd rather not. I've already done it. I don't want to do it again. But it's not to be raised to be accurate, to be able to fit the Orca's large windows. You know, she had them real large windows. The bulkhead, this will be torn down as well. If you can look, let me just shut the door here so you can really see the companionway door. Let me just shut that. You can see that she has quite a good curve to her going on, which I really like that. But because she's going to be the Orca, that's not going to be accurate, so I'm not going to be able to use that. Although I will find a way to still use this. I don't know what I'll use it for, but I will definitely find a way to use it. And I'm going to use the companionway door, definitely that top up there, because that's right. And that top actually bends like the Orca's does. You can see the piano hinge right there. But there you go. I'm not sure what I'll do with this just yet, but I'll find something to use it for. The one on the Orca did have curvature. It was actually, I believe, the same curvature as the cabin top, and the cabin top was actually not flat. You don't do that on a boat. You want your cabin top and any surface really to have some sort of curvature to it, just enough so that water runs off. In this case, she has a really good curvature on the windows, and the cabin top's really a good curve so that water runs off, so the transom and the foredeck. But it was more flat. It did have a slight curvature to it, but it's gonna be more flat. So that's definitely gonna have to be replaced. The wood paneling here is gonna have to be replaced. These are gonna come out. Engine box here, it's not gonna be here anymore. She has a big Caterpillar 3304B engine. I don't know if it will turn over yet. Yeah, this will pull up like this. So I'm just gonna pull this up and let y'all see exactly how big it is. So, as y'all can see, that's a big boy. That is, like I said, a Caterpillar 3304B marine engine. They don't make parts for this no more. So I'm going to be taking it out and I'm going to be selling it. I have no idea if it runs yet. What I would like to do, I would like to put a Cummins in it eventually. Of course, that'd be one of the last things I do. Putting a new engine in it would be one of the last things I do. The Orca actually had a 4-cylinder gas engine, and it was a Ford engine. And I got that information from the man who used to own the Orca, who bought her after filming. That he ended up selling it back to Universal when the film got popular, and they put her out there on the back lot tour at Universal Hollywood. But it's a big house. It's a big house. She's still got her batteries and everything. She's got 2 60 or 70 gallon gas tanks out at the back in the stern, one on each side. Just gonna shut this real quick. All right, so we got a old school handy cam right now, which is what I've been using, but I'm using it like you would back in the day, back in the 90s, like my dad would have done, taking home videos in the 80s and things like that. But I just want to show y'all this real quick. Ow, that's hot. There's one of her gas tanks, and that little piece of pipe right there is actually the emergency tiller, so you could steer this thing by hand if you had to. It wouldn't be fun. And then right there, you can't see, but there's another gas tank in there. Ugh. But just give you an idea. Here's the decking as it is now. Here's that hatch I was telling you about. Let me just lift that up real quick. You can see down in there. Of course, you can see the ground because the garbage has been removed. That's not a big deal. Now, there's a spider right there. Hit him with some bug spray. I don't like spiders. I can't stand spiders. I'm honestly scared of them. I'm scared of snakes, big spiders, poisonous spiders, and clowns. God, I hate clowns. I saw the movie It when I was really younger, the original one. But right here's some more of the decking that that I was talking about. Got this blue kind of teal looking color. That is the same color as that right there. Let's see if I can get it to focus. I can't tell if that's focusing or not, but it's the same color as that right there. And then like you can see down here on the side where all the iron fastenings are still there, and this needs to be completely replaced. And you see how the deck back here is dirty. Oh, that's something else. Actually cleaned the front of the deck. Check that out. Cleaned that out. Spent about an hour sweeping all that. Clean it all up, and you can actually see my bag right there. But yeah, all that had all kinds of dirt and everything on it, and I cleaned it all up. I think it looks rather good, you know, considering. But let me just kind of take y'all below right here, because y'all ain't seen down here. But here we go. Let me just angle this so I can see what I'm doing. Right now, this is small, obviously, until I get to it. Up there in the front, in the chain lock, you have your water tanks, fresh water tanks, and your black water tanks, and all that fun stuff. And then you have this siding, which is going to be straightened out so I can have more room. And you have all of this. Her anchor's right there, actually. She has a little kitchenette right there. And interestingly enough, you see a Napa oil filter right there. That's brand new, still in the silicone wrapping. And there's a bell right there. And you got your emergency beacons and everything right there. And you got one right there. Let me just show y'all this real quick, because this is actually kind of neat. Crap. How cool is that? It's a towel rack. Has her name on it. But yeah, you got a little kitchenette right here. There's the sink right there. This cabin top is too low. It's don't have to be raised, obviously. Let me just shut this real quick. Okay. But she needs work, like I said, and this is just part one of the little inspection thing. I just wanted to do a little inspection up here on the deck before I get into the real complicated stuff down below on the hull and everything, before I get into explaining all that, because that's going to be really informative. And I just wanted to get the little quick stuff out of the way. And I just want to talk about the deck right here, and I'll get some close-in shots real quick. But as you can see, I've already taken off 2 of the benches. They will be completely going. The deck is going to have to be replaced completely, because I'm going to have to take the deck up so I can replace everything down below that I have to replace, which that'll be a video too. When I start to deconstruct everything, that will be a video within itself. As I was talking about, the sides here, they're going to be removed. They're going to be tongue-tied. They're going to be replaced. Basically, everything you see on this deck is going to be changed completely. Everything on this boat is going to be changed completely. Had somebody message me from the last video and ask what was going to happen to these benches, and I thought I said in the video what was going to happen to them. I guess I didn't. I guess I could have cut that out by accident. But just to iterate again, these benches will be going to the original builder's family. It's going to be going to his 2 grandsons, with the exception of one that I'm going to be keeping. You can probably figure out which one that is, because I'm sitting in it. But they'll be going back to him. They will be. They'll be going back to both of them. One thing that I'm going to be keeping right here on top of the side railing, this top right here is brass. And I will be keeping that, and I'll be putting it on the Orca because I like it, and there's things on this boat that I do want to keep. you know, and preserve the Betselma's legacy. So this is going to be one of them things. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put it on the railing, and I'm going to paint over it. You know what? I might actually not. I might not. I may just keep it the way it is. I don't know yet. When I get to that bridge, this will be one of the last things I put on. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But I may paint over it. You know, paint it the same color as what the boards are, the railing is. It's going to be a fun project, especially ripping this deck up. It's going to be real fun. I don't know if y'all can tell without some sarcasm. But all this is going to be replaced. The deck is, like I said, the deck's actually still in some really good condition, which is really surprising. I mean, I was not really expecting it to be in the condition that it was, to be honest, but it is. If anybody's wondering, I don't know if you can even see it. There's a hatch right here, and what that's for is so you can get down to the shaft and all that. There's actually one back there at the stern, so that you can get to the tiller for the rudder. And interestingly enough, this boat still has old chain and cable steering, which will be taken out and replaced with hydraulic. I don't know if it'll actually be able to pick it up on camera, but I will turn the wheel so you can hear it. I'm going to do it on a count of 3. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. 1, 2, 3. I think it picked that up. I think it did. Hopefully it did. Hopefully it did. As I was saying, I just wanted to go ahead and get all the real quick stuff out of the way, you know, because this is going to be a really short video. But I just wanted to go ahead and get it out of the way because, like I said, you know, everything, when I start talking to y'all about all the different types of wood, how to identify quarterly sawn versus slab sawn, you know, boards, how to identify wood, start talking about electrolysis, you know, why you should use, you know, silicon dipped bronze fastenings instead of like iron or stainless steel fastenings. When I get to talking about all that, and when I get to talking about beveling and everything, beveling wood and rabbits, and I'm not talking about the cute little bunnies that come and give you eggs at Easter. There's a thing on a boat called a rabbit line where boards fit into. When I start talking about all of that, it's going to be a lot of information. It's going to be really informative. So I just wanted to get this video out of the way first before I get into any of that. So this is going to be part 1. And I've taken up enough of y'all's time. I hope that y'all enjoy the video, and I hope that y'all consider sticking around, subscribing, and watching some more while I do this. And I know I can ramble just a bit too much sometimes. I know that. And I apologize, but I hope y'all consider sticking around and going on this journey with me. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.